Hey everyone, today I'm going to discuss bracing and splinting as that is something that has came up regularly and people are a bit confused about it, and rightly so. So if you have like Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome or Hypermobility Spectrum Disorder, how do you know if you need to start bracing or if it's really beneficial to you, and what you should really know before you go out and buy all these expensive different types of braces. I will say that if you can, speak with an occupational therapist. Sometimes a physio can help you as well, but really a good occupational therapist should be able to discuss the options for you. And sometimes you can get things through the HSC as well. I'll show you what I was given by my local occupational therapist, and then I'll discuss also what I bought for myself online once I kind of got the hang of things. As I said, I wouldn't go out now and here's a shopping list to go on Amazon and you should get all these things, because certain things you won't find helpful that other people will. And that also goes for conditions as well. So a lot of people with arthritis would use certain things that you with EDS or HSD won't find very beneficial at all. And it's all trial and error, and that's why it's good to have an occupational therapist, because they can kind of go through things with you as well. I know, of course, in reality, it's not always possible to see an OT, and I know that it took years for the system to get around to, like referring me publicly to one. So, it's just not always possible, and you're in pain daily, and sometimes you just need to bite the bullet and buy some braces online. So I'll start kind of from the basics and work my way up. Here is my lovely little doggy tin. It's just an old tin that I keep kind of the really scruffy basic ones in. These are ones I've collected throughout the year. So even before I was diagnosed with EDS, I started to realise that compression on the joints really helped me. And what I mean by that is just basic compression. So these kind of sorry, these look really gross and grubby, but basic ones like these, they're kind of almost just like socks, and you can get these in a lot of places. So say the likes of Deals or those cheap Euro shops, a lot of places like that have them, which is great price wise. And also it's just kind of light compression. So I kind of found, I suppose my arm pain started to get a lot worse in my 20s, early 20s. And even though I didn't really know what was going on and I hadn't yet been diagnosed, I was always called wonky and there's something wrong with you, I knew at that stage that compression, even just from basically doing this with my hand and holding, that was helpful. So I started to buy these because they're really cheap, and just even doing that now, it's just, there's a slight relief there, there's a light compression, but it's sturdy enough to just slightly help with the pain. And I suppose that's the way I look at splinting and bracing, is that for pain control, for pain management, rather than even a functional sort of help. So sometimes the more extreme bracing is literally so you can walk. I might use something on my knee, but other times it's just a bit of pain relief. If you're anything like me, a lot of painkillers won't work for you. I've tried even tramadol, and I just don't seem to metabolize them in a way that other people do. So to me, it's just like taking Panadol, unfortunately. And a lot of people with EDS have that with medication, including painkillers, which is the unfortunate thing. So for me, I suppose bracing and splinting is a pain relief tool. So that's something kind of to get into your mind, especially if you're discussing it with an occupational therapist or physiotherapist. So these are what I started off basically, for the first kind of few years before I knew anything about EDS, or I was like, it feels like I'm dislocating, but that sounds crazy. And before I knew anything about splinting or bracing. So then I kind of have these other ones that I picked up along the way as well. I'm not even sure, I think this is meant to be for a knee. And then this similar one as well. So you'll notice this kind of blue fabric, and you'll see this a lot around. I actually prefer the lighter, cheap, whiter ones. You might think you're getting more support from this kind of thing, but if you are anything like me and you react to everything in the entire universe, if you have mast cell symptoms, even if you're not fully diagnosed, you might, because you have EDS, have mast cell issues, or just really bad allergies, then you might find, I think it's called neoprene, I'll put the spelling up, this type of fabric that's used a lot in braces reacts to my skin. So it's usually okay. For the first minute I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice, and then after say like 5 minutes, it's burning the hell out of me and I have to take it off because it's like literally burning my skin. So that's quite unfortunate because a lot of splints are made from this fabric. And so if you find that you're not great with these, I would suggest buying the cheaper ones, and they're cheaper anyway. So I have a big pile of them here really, and then I have these older blue ones which I've just kind of kept even though they burn the hell out of my skin. So kind of going on from that, I suppose that was kind of what I had for years, and I started to see, you see splints in groups and stuff and braces and you're like, gosh, that looks very extreme, and that's not something I want to go for unless I really need to. And it's not something you should go for without medical advice and medical approval. But then again, as I said, that can be very hard to get and very hard to negotiate through the system to see an OT, and then to see an OT who knows about Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome or Hypermobility Spectrum Disorder. And similarly again with physios. Now I will say that if you're speaking to a physio and an OT who, even if they know a bit about EDS, sometimes they don't believe in bracing. So for instance, one of the main OT that I have seen was able to give me hand splints and finger splints and discuss issues with that, but at the same time I got the impression when talking to them, and another OT that I spoke with one time when I was also in hospital, that they don't, I think they feel that patients will get lazy sometimes with splinting. So you might come across that if you're talking to an occupational therapist or a physiotherapist, that they might be reluctant to discuss bracing with you. Now you really have to make your case. You have to say, look, I'm dislocating. There's nothing that will stop this dislocating. Some days, certain days, I don't know if you're anything like me, but on some days when my knee goes, for instance, it's going all day. Like, I'll get that thing back in, or I'll think it's back in, and then it's out again, and it's horrendous. And that type of pain, you have to be brutally honest sometimes with specialists, or with any kind of doctor, and that type of pain, sometimes I'm literally vomiting or passing in and out of consciousness because my body is shutting down from the pain. So when you explain that, they're kind of like, okay, maybe we should use bracing then as a pain control, and explain that to them, that it's pain management. So you still want to be doing physiotherapy in conjunction with bracing, not at the same time. So you wouldn't do physio or exercise while you're wearing a brace, for instance, because that's not beneficial. So you will often hear, if you have EDS or HSD, that you should be doing, and it's easier said than done obviously, but you should be doing exercises that help build up muscle around the joint, which will hopefully in turn prevent so much partial dislocations and full dislocations as well throughout your day. So you want to be doing a good physio program on top of bracing, and you want to make sure that your physio and your occupational therapist are aware that you are aware of this, that you know how to brace, you know when to brace, that it's only used as pain control, it's not used 24/7. You do not want to brace 24/7, and everyone will tell you that. That's not beneficial to you at all. So you need to be working up the muscle and not wearing a brace at certain times. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do go to see an occupational therapist or a physiotherapist and they don't really understand how bracing is used for EDS. If you look at other countries, like America obviously, they seem to have taken bracing and splinting on a lot more than we would here for the treatment and management of EDS and HSD. And it's unfortunate that, that physiotherapists and occupational therapists aren't really up to date kind of on that here. But I have to say now, the occupational therapists and physiotherapists I have met with, once I've talked to them and explained how they're usually used, and maybe how doctors in other countries would explain how to use them for the treatment of EDS, they do come around to the idea. They actually do. You need to be brutally honest about your pain and how the sprinting and bracing helps your pain. So once you kind of have those conversations, you will find with most OTs and physios that they come around to the idea, if they are reluctant to help at first. So one of the first things I was giving when I first met with an occupational therapist was finger splints. Now, these you've probably come across before in groups, if you're on any online support groups, are called ovalates. These are them there. I'll just put one on to show you. There's different ways in which you can wear these depending on how you are subluxing. So if you're partially dislocating one way, the OT might suggest put it on, you know, a certain way, and then, you know, you'll get like given it kind of pictures to go along with them, and you can actually buy these online, but I would suggest, and I waited till I saw an occupational therapist because, well, firstly I got them free within the HSE, which is great because you don't get, there's not a lot of stuff that you get free, like, you know, I'll just tell you that right here, right now, and unfortunately you can only get the plastic ones of these free, so you might see fancy ones online, you're not going to get them through the HSE in general. I've never heard of anyone getting them. So you get these plastic things usually from your occupational therapist. Now, the one thing I will say about, you know, also versus getting them from an occupational therapist and buying them online is that they can fit you for them. So my fingers there were like different sizes for, you know, for different fingers. If I was buying online, I'd have no idea how to size them up. So she was able to kind of go, right, see if that one fits here, see if that one fits here, and so on. So then I was given, actually I was given 4 of them, and then another occupational therapist in the future gave me the ones for the other hand, because like, the other hand's a mess as well, like you need them for there, unfortunately, too. So basically, they're tiny bits of plastic, but they still amaze me. Like, it amazes me how well they work. So they stop me from bending this way, basically. If you can, I don't know if you can see there with that hand, it's just the fingers, like, you know, are hypermobile and extending backwards. And if I touch here in my finger, like this, the actual little middle part of the finger, it's like squishy as hell, and it's a bit gross, to be honest. It almost feels like there's no bone in there at all. So these on a daily basis have helped me so much. I mean, I'd gotten to the stage where anything with my hands was impossible, because I feel like sometimes I feel like my fingers are almost worse than when bigger joints dislocate. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they don't have as much, I don't know, they don't have much as around them. So like these ends are all free and just out there, you know, that they don't have as much support around them maybe that my hip or shoulder does. And they're just more obvious then when they fully dislocate, and they can be really gross and disgusting. Now, so obviously I would wear these quite a bit because they help so much. I can like hold a pen and write with them and everything, you know, and it's great. Like it's, they'd gotten very bad, but I also make sure that when I'm not using them, I don't use them every day. I try to go a day or two, even if I'm in a lot of pain, you know, just go a day or two without them, because it's not good to wear these all the time. It's not good to wear any bracing all the time. But what I do try to do as well when I'm not wearing them is that I do little finger exercises. So I have, it's just a cheap green putty thing that I got online. It was suggested by the occupational therapist, but of course the HSC don't give you any. So they was suggested that I buy it, like I got it like cheap on Amazon or eBay or something. And it's just a putty stuff that I, you know, basically touch and hold, and it just do little finger exercises with that. So as I said, you need to be doing physiotherapy in conjunction with wearing anything like these. So that's basically my finger splints. Now they're great. The only thing is then with the thumb, and with with these little squidgy tops here of the finger, you know, that then is another issue. As I said, you can get fancier finger braces online of the ovalates, almost beautiful, intricate ones, steel, that look like rings, and they're all very beautiful and expensive. And like, again, I wouldn't know the sizing to even buy online. So what I find quite helpful is this. Should open this earlier. This cheap stuff from, I think it was Amazon. And again, this was actually suggested to me by, I was in a hospice, and the occupational therapist there suggested this stuff to me. So if you do have allergy reactions to any kind of tape, to any kind of sticky stuff, I know if it's a good quality hospital tape, that sticky stuff bubbles and burns my skin. And if you have EDS and mast cell issues, then you'll probably find that as well, and it's horrendous. This stuff, however, just kind of, it's just a stretchy material and it sticks to itself. So for instance, if I felt this like was really dislocating badly up here, and I was like, I can get this stuff and twist it around, and then I can just cut there, and it just sticks to itself, and it's brilliant. Like, it's fantastic, and it's really cheap. And I think if you just search like physio tape, you'll find that. Make sure it says like self-adhesive kind of thing, you know. So, and it's just basically this stretchy fabric, and it's absolutely fantastic. So that would, I find, good for top of the fingers, and also sometimes for here as well, if you really need to bandage around. because if you're, you know, the base of your thumb is an awkward place, and if you're like me and you can't use the neoprene, like the blue straps, like, you know, this is a good alternative for there as well. So kind of then, you know, that's all hands and arms and stuff, and then kind of going into the bigger stuff. This was a contraption that the first occupational therapist I saw also gave to me. So this is very much not functional at all, and it's good, you know, it's good for resting. So I find, and this was I had said to her, that I find sometimes if part of my arm goes, the rest of my arm goes, like a domino effect, you know, because I think I'm trying to put like the shoulder back in, and then I pull this out by accident, and it can almost be a domino effect. So this was kind of something she gave me for, you know, for that really. So if the whole arm is in a lot of pain, so I only use this on the more extreme occasions. You know, it's really not something you want to use all the time, because again, you don't want to get lazy and complacent. And that's something you want your physiotherapist and your occupational therapist to know that you are not going to, you know, you're not going to do. And sometimes it just takes a while to build up a relationship with a physiotherapist and occupational therapist for them to understand that, and they need to get to know you. So this is basically my claw, as I call it, and it's very good and relaxing if it is the case that this part of the arm is just, you know, completely collapsing, or even if the fingers are very bad that day. So I would use this very rarely, and again, it's not at all in any way functional, unless like you want to go rah, but like that's not a real thing. So that's something you might get from the occupational therapist as well. To be honest, it's probably not something I would have thought of to buy, and it's not something I would have bought because it wouldn't be a priority to me. I'd way prefer more of the kind of functional things than that, and I wouldn't use that one a lot, but in saying that, I do use it. And I think, you know, if you're given something by the occupational therapist, take it, because you mightn't realise that you need something or that's beneficial until you try it out. This was another thing the first occupational therapist saw give me, and they're basically like arthritic gloves, and this is probably something you have seen before. They're in a lot of like mobility aid shops would have these, and they're pretty easy to get in a lot of shops. I think they're quite expensive though. So, I mean, to be honest, I tried these on in front of her, and just to show you, that's them there. It's arthritic gloves, like a thermal support. I tried these on in front of her, and they were very tight. And she almost panicked, because then like we were trying to get them off, and she was like, I was dislocating, and she was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And I was kind of like laughing, because I was like, it's okay, it happens all the time. So it was very hard to get them off and on. So I'm not even going to attempt to put them on and off right now. Like, she was like, you know, take them anyway. You never know, you might change your mind in the future. And I haven't as yet. And to be honest as well, I find, I'm not even sure if these are the neoprene, whatever it's called, fabric that's often used. But I do find, you know, a lot of these like thermal kind of support things just like fire up my skin, and I'm just too painful, and I just react. So they're not something I could keep on for a long time anyway. If you have other issues apart from EDS, so if you do have arthritis in your hands and you don't react easily to overheating or to certain fabrics, then you might find these beneficial as well. And I think that would seem to this, you know, they're fairly common, so you might get handed a pair of them by your occupational therapist too. And I think that's really most of the stuff like that I did get from the first occupational therapist. And I think the main beneficial thing I do find is the ovalates. As I said, little bits of plastic, and they're absolutely amazing. And of course then this, just because it's so cheap and it's so handy. Now, like, that's all hands and arms and stuff, and I suppose you're like, well, what about the rest? Now, there's so much out there. There's knee braces, shoulder braces, you know, and you'll see a lot of them online. I actually did invest in a really good knee brace there the last while, like a few months ago, and again, because it's the more extreme, I only use it when my knee is really bad. So it's really pain relief. It's days that, you know, it's sometimes the difference between leaving the house and not leaving the house, and other times it's also the difference between not vomiting all over myself and passing out from pain and being able to like breathe normally and just stay focused and awake. So that's what I would really use the knee one for. And again, because the whole neoprene thing is bloody everywhere, I researched and I was like looked for ones that like I wouldn't get such a reaction from. So this one isn't neoprene. It's a similar fabric, but it's like one people seem to use because it's not something that you're likely to be allergic to. And I have to say I've found it great so far. I'm just looking for the wee tag here to see. So this one that I bought, and I got this on Amazon. Can't remember the exact, it was about 70, 80 quid now, like, which is pricey. But I had left it for years and I just thought, oh, I'll get one later. And it might seem ridiculous for something I don't use a lot, but I do use it maybe like once a month. And it's as I said, it's for pain control and pain management. And that's a massive thing if you have EDS. And I do find it helpful. It's, you know, and it's immediate release. Not like, it won't help all the pain obviously, but it's immediate release and it just stops that knee from dislocating when it's going absolutely crazy. So this one is Actimove Genu-Step. So I'll just show you the wee tag there. I don't know if that's showing up. Oh, it's coming up too bright. But as I said, I got this on Amazon. There we go. I got this on Amazon, so if you search that on Amazon, you should be able to find it, hopefully, if you do need something like this. Now, it's obviously, like, as I said, extreme and ridiculous, but, you know, if you're 34 and your knee has been dislocating your whole life and it's only getting worse, you're just like, oh my god, I need some relief really soon. So I'll just try and see if I can even get this on, because I'm not very great at this on my own, but I'll have a wee go and see if you can see there. Okay. So as well, it's the kind of thing like it's really awkward to wear over baggier clothes. You know, you're better off if you're having a bad day with this. You want to be, I think like you want to be wearing leggings or like tight jeans or something. I'm wearing like these ridiculous like baggy things right now, so it's not like working out too well, like it's just looking hilarious. But I mean, you don't really care what you look like if you're in the house on your own as well, like I am now, or like you might be if you're in pain. So I can't actually, okay, without doing the straps up, because I'm just getting these stuck here to each other, I'll just put that first one up. So I haven't done the bottom strap up. So you see basically there, the knee sits in there, and this kind of has like, it looks quite extreme, but it has full movement. So if I'm walking, I might walk a bit, you know, funny, like in a little kind of stiff, but it's got, you know, it's got bracing and stuff here, so it's got great support, I have to say. And I kind of thought if I was going to get one, I might as well get one with as much support as possible, rather than spend a lot of money and get something that I would probably use more regularly. I thought, no, I just really want to, I only want to use something if it's a really bad dislocation. I don't want to get something for my knee that I would only be using if it's slightly sore, because I can just use those white compression things, you know, or just try and work my way through it. Because as I said, you only want to be bracing when really, really necessary. So this one has loads of support and it's quite flexible. You can see there, and it doesn't give me the same allergies that I get with the neoprene. One of these days I'll ask someone how to actually say that word. I think at the start of this video I might have been saying it the right way and now I'm not. So that's really it for bracing. There are like plenty of other types of bracing. These are obviously just the ones I have. As I said, for you, you will want to talk to an occupational therapist and a physiotherapist, and you'll want to try and make them understand what you would use bracing for, and that you very much so will still be exercising those joints and doing physio in conjunction with this, and not at the same time while wearing braces. Because obviously in the long run, occupational therapy and physiotherapy are what are going to help you to manage your pain and to make things a bit easier to stop, you know, to try and control the amount of dislocations that you are having. But you also need immediate pain relief. And so it's about really understanding or helping occupational therapists and physiotherapists to understand that, because they don't all the time. But once they get to know you and your case, you know, you will see that they will open up a bit and go, okay, well, I think, you know, you're not going to get complacent and that kind of thing. So it's, you know, it's the same normal healthy relationship that you should have with a good doctor or with a good consultant. There's other things as well, like for me down the line, I hope to get a shoulder brace. It's something I still need to research myself, because I see some quite basic ones out there. Again, though, I don't want to go for the neoprene in case it burns my skin. And I want to go for something that I can use when I'm in a lot of pain and that I can still have some mobility with. So that's something I'm going to look at in the future, and you know, try and work out price wise, because you know, they're necessities really at times, but they are also expensive, and it's hard to know what kind of to go for. So actually, if you have anything for your shoulder, you know, comment in the comments below and let me know kind of what you use, because I would love to hear your suggestions. I would definitely like to get one in the future, and when I do get one, actually I'll do another video around that. Also leave a comment if you want to tell me what braces you use, any advice for talking to occupational therapists or physios about you know, wanting to use braces, and if you have any other pain tips at all, if you have EDS or HSD, if you have any other pain tips and what you do to control and manage those dislocations, let us know down in the comments.